first thing is writing your goals. Second thing is tracking your spending, looking for some triggers, looking for some leaks in your budget and your habits. The third thing, now we are going to create a budget. Now we're creating a budget. We're going to build a budget that gets us closer to the goals we've laid out in number 1 and a little bit further away from those bad habits and triggers that we wrote down in number 2. All right? So again, that could mean giving yourself a spending limit for a particular day.
Okay.
That can mean even you going through the people who are around you. Do you spend more money when you're around a certain person? Now listen, let me tell you, it sounds rough, but it's real, right? I know if I'm on a budget and I need to get something from the mall, I'm not going to take my older sister. I love her, she loves me. She thinks everything looks good on me, as she should. So when I'm with her, I notice I buy a little more. She's like, girl, get it. Girl, get it. That's you. That's you. Yeah, I'm in there a little longer with her. I love her, you know, but in moments when I need to get in and get out, I'll tell her when I get back. All right? And that's part of my budget. That one thing is part of my budget. Any questions there?
No.
Yes.
Regarding like scheduling and things like that, do you recommend that, like, let's say somebody, all right, it's two different type of people who own their own business and people who don't own their own business. And let's just say I was like a person who didn't, and I just wanted to improve my finances. Would you recommend that somebody write up like some type of plan for the next year of how they would do the spending, or what type of route would you take so somebody could track their budgeting, like a calendar?
So for people who get paid twice a month, right? For my clients who get paid twice a month, we kind of like split the month into 2 halves, and we even out the budget, because depending on mortgage, rent, or whatever else, childcare, you know, you run out of money before you run out of month, right? Well, the first 2 weeks or the last 2 weeks, you're like, ooh, this a lot happens, a little imbalance here, right? So it's much easier to create a plan if you split it up. Okay, what needs to be paid before the 15th? What needs to be paid after the 15th? The first check out of the month, second check out of the month. That even may mean, and this is what I was doing on my road to financial freedom, because when I started, I was only making $8.75 an hour. And I had this grand idea of perfect credit score, of being debt free and all of this stuff. And they were like, girl, bye. With this $8.75, right? But this is one of the things that I did. I had to split it up because I needed to know that it was a balance there, right? So I had to pay my phone bill, half of it before with my first check, even though it was really only due on the 22nd. But that was part of me balancing out my pay schedule with my budget. Ultimately, you want to do something that you can take the thinking out of. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, right? That's why we have auto pay, right? That's why we have what do they do? The tap and the one button click and all of that. They want to take your thinking out of it. So you want to do it where it's not, you don't have to do long algebra every time you get paid, because most likely you're not going to do that.
Wait a little bit more.
All right. Yes.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
So, it kind of sounds like you're talking about like financial therapy in a way. And I know you're talking about monitoring who you surround yourself with, because I'm a therapist. This is my husband. However, I can't, we tend to spend a lot together. We live a good life. So I think about it in the sense of like we trying to monitor date nights, right? So we decrease the frequency of them, but we still like to splurge when we have them, which is not really saving money in a sense, where you're just exchanging it, right? So instead of having 2 date nights where we're doing it, we're now having one huge date night weekend, right? Mm-hmm. What do you suggest for that?
So I suggest that anyone and everyone do anything that pulls them away from guilt. It sounds like you're feeling bad that you're not doing the goal that you accomplished. It sounds like that it takes away some level of enjoyment once you realize the total amount that you're spending. Would that be accurate? You're like, you're looking at the total number and
you
you're just like,
to
okay,
reward-
that was a
reward.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you like to reward and say, how
awesome.
much is too much reward, you know? Like, right now I think it's good, but if we're talking about buying a house, it's like,
Right.
you gotta
Yeah.
stop rewarding.
Yeah, I think you need to come up with a number that you feel like is reasonable. Again, when we're talking about budgeting, we're talking about things that you can do, giving yourself permission to do things. Not saying we can't do certain things. But what does that look like? Does that look like we need to make sure that the cap is $300? I don't know, whatever number you two come up with. You say, listen, we're going to try this 1 or 2 times with under this amount and stick under this amount. Let's see how we feel about it. Let's talk about it on the way there. Let's talk about it there. Let's talk about it on the way home. Did it remove any enjoyment that we spent $100 less than we normally do? If the answer is like, no, I still had a ball. It's like, well, okay, well, we should probably stick to this. We should stick to, right? Because our minds tell us, even with the whole idea of like retail therapy, those kinds of things, like our minds are telling us that the more bags we walk out with, the better we will feel. And that's really not, and you're a therapist, so you know this. It's not the case, right? And so we go through that with other ways that we reward ourselves. The more I spend, the more I do, the better I feel, and it's really not. Because there is some level of guilt afterwards. We don't want that. That's not worth it, right? If you're going on vacation, yeah, you deserve to go, but you deserve to enjoy it and have fun and not worry about are we eating sandwiches for the next 2 weeks when you get back, right? Yeah? So that's what I would suggest. Come up with a number that's safe for you two and just try it. Try it once or twice and just kind of talk about, hey, that wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. You know what I mean? And make it fun. Okay, let's look for places, new places that are within this budget that we created and create new experiences, not based on money, but based on quality time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Question. It's all based on discipline, right?
Absolutely.
And so, in order to do these type of things, you have to be able to have discipline. One of the things that I try to create for myself is self-reward. So I pay myself first before I pay any bill. But the thing is, that my attachment is my children. That's when I overspend. You know, so I have to monitor them because they're going to take out knives out of something. I have to tell them, no, it's kind of hard to tell them no in certain things. They're not too extreme. They're not, I got, 3 boys and sneaker king, so budgets, I had to set limits on them, those type of things. But some of them are less than others. Like my son really think he's less than, he'd rather have the money. But trying to do that seems to be difficult. To have that discipline and that focus all the time. What would you suggest to put in place? Like I put a number here, but sometimes it just push the number. That's the number.
Yeah, I think ultimately, did everyone kind of hear his scenario in this question? I just want to make sure. He was basically saying, as a dad, he wants to, the kids want to spend money. And it's hard to tell them no sometimes. And he was asking how do we balance that? Ultimately, for parents in general, when we talk about financial freedom, we talk about generational wealth, there are 2 pieces that I feel like has been missing from the conversation of generational wealth. The first piece is holding on to it long enough to pass it down. Okay? Because we know throughout history or throughout time, a whole lot of people who've had a whole lot, but at some point lost it too, right? Didn't hold on to it long enough to pass it down. Some of my clients like, Coach, I'm barely passing it down to next Friday. You talk about the next generation, right? So that's the first part. How can we hold on to it, multiply it, and keep it safe long enough to pass it down? The second part of generational wealth is making sure your children know what to do with it once you're gone so that they can hold on to it and multiply it and continue to pass it down, right? Without those 2 very important pieces, we are not having a generational wealth conversation. Let's be very, very clear about that. So if your ultimate conviction as a father or as a parent, for anyone here, if your ultimate level of peace and comfort and goal for your life and your legacy is to have generational wealth, you have to be clear about putting those two things in place. And putting those two things in place is, I mean, even with insurance, it's like, do we have these policies? And I have this conversation with parents. I said, how much is your policy? I said, oh, it's $1.2 million. I said, does your son know what to do? No. No, okay, well, 70% of wealth is lost second generation, 90% is lost third generation. That's just your grandbabies. That's not that far from now. Right? So, again, we have to create a healthy balance between enjoying today, living for today, but preparing for the future. And if you feel like what you're doing is taking away from future comfort, future peace, and future hope, then we have a problem. We need to make adjustments. All right? No one's going to die from having one less pair of sneakers. Now, let me tell you something. I'm not the judge because I have more than 100 pairs of shoes. I have a problem. That's not the point. The point is, when I did say no, I still didn't die. So, just be clear about what that balance is. And again, when you feel like it's too much, you know, you'll know. You'll say, okay, well, this is the time that we need to. Maybe it's a schedule. Maybe we only eat out twice. Tuesdays and Fridays are the only 2 days we eat out. Outside of that, we're gonna figure out something here. You know, for every family, it's different. But just create something that is cool and safe for everyone else, and we're good. But discipline is everything. You had a question, or you had a comment?
Yeah. For somebody who's like concerned about their expenses and whatnot, do you have any advice of like how somebody could like track their spending and track their expenses? And the second part is, do you recommend that people pay their bills on automation, or should they just do it by hand?
I'm gonna answer your second question first. I recommend that everybody do what's comfortable for them. For some people, some of my clients, they don't like auto pay. I'm fine with that. I believe personal finance is personal. That's why when people come to me, we create a personalized financial plan. Some people don't like auto pay. I'm perfectly fine with that. As long as you're not paying it late, we're fine. Some people say, I don't want nobody going to my account taking nothing. I'm fine. Okay, you don't want to do it. For me, every single thing is on auto pay because I don't have time. I do not have time to figure out what's coming out, what's pending, what's not pending. Take it already. Take me out of my misery, take it already. Right? So do whatever's comfortable for you. For some people, maybe it's a good hybrid. Maybe certain bills are on auto pay because they're kind of like set, like your cell phone bill, whatever. And maybe other things that fluctuate a little bit more. Maybe you're not comfortable putting them on auto pay. You know, maybe your gas bill goes up too high sometimes. Like, oh, I gotta look at that first. I can't let them just go in there and take it. Whatever's comfortable for you, do that. But as far as tracking your expenses, again, pull last month's expenses. Like, pull your bank statement, pull your credit card statement. If you're old fashioned, you want to print out and get you some highlighters, have fun. If you Excel and you want to download it and color code it that way, have fun. But you need to know where your money, knowing where it's going is more than half the battle. Right? A lot of people say, I don't even want to look at it. I don't even want to look at my credit report. I don't want to look at my score. I'm like, girl, it is what it is regardless. You might as well be informed. So, and then again, put some things in place. If you pull it, we all overspend on food. Every single one of us. Every single one of us. Again, I've done this almost 11 years. Half of my clients make less than I do. Half of my clients make a lot more. One thing we all have in common, we all overspend on food, because food is not just food. Food is celebration. Food is sadness. Food is grief. Food is comfort. Food is quality time. Food is ambiance. Food is catching up with my girl. Food is the whole lot that food is involved. It checks all the boxes, right? So let's just say you discover you spent $1,000 on food last month. Just say, okay, is there a way I can get it down to $750? Is there a way I can get it down to $800? Let me be conscious about that. Again, we're talking about budgeting. We're talking about the small things. I use the term with my clients and my students. Every drop fills the bucket. Every drop fills the bucket. Right? So we're not talking about you completely eliminating and never having fun and never eating out again. But if it's $1,000, you can get it down to $800. That's pretty good. That's fair. That's more realistic, right? And then you make a plan of, okay, what am I going to do with this $200? I got $200 now. Am I going to put it on my credit card? Am I going to pay extra? Am I going to save up for emergencies? What am I going to do with it? All right, is that fair? Yep.
So, I'm in that window of like trying to be financially free, right? So I've worked since I was 19 in corporate America. I'm 32 now, and I just got fired from my job after all of these years because of course, AI at that time. So when it happened, I had 2 more years. I'm like, don't know how I'm paying this, but it's miraculously happening because I, constantly every dollar I get goes to, my homes. So I guess like what I want to know is in your journey to getting where you are, like what worked best for you because I need help.
All right, I'm gonna say your question louder for everybody here. She asked, in my journey of becoming financially free, what worked best for me? Your mindset controls your assets. And the first thing that I did was recognize that I had everything that I needed. I had everything that I needed. And a lot of times we spend money, we think that we need these things, and we think that we're spending money out of lack, like I don't have everything that I need. Once I got that in my mind, I had everything I needed, instantly everything else felt like extra. Like I'm instantly living in abundance now. I have everything I need and some other stuff too. And I can go to Dunkin' Donuts every day, and I can do this, and I can do this. It's like you feel it, your mind, your spirit. It's like, okay, now I can take control of all this extra, this level of abundance that I'm living in now. Now I'm excited to be able to pay my car off early. Now I'm excited to be able to pay off my student loans that early. Now it's like infinite possibilities from that small mind shift change that says I have everything that I need. And it was a thing in my home growing up. Again, we were poor, but my mom never let my brothers and I use the word need if it wasn't a need. Right? So we can come running in the kitchen all we want to and be like, I need this toy on this commercial. And they be like, oh, she's like, oh, really? That's interesting. Let's count out your needs. Let's list your needs, right? And she was like, okay, because it sounds like I got all those covered. You know what I mean? So I'm confused as to how this toy fits in these 5 things we just listed, right? And so because she did that, I was able to quickly make that mind shift change to say, like, I know what my needs are. I used to have to say it all the time, right? I know what my needs are, and I know that they're covered. Now I'm living in abundance. So that would be something I would say to you, like, everyone in here is living in abundance because you got here. You got here. So what are you doing with that abundance? What are you doing with this extra? You have reliable transportation. Is that an asset or a liability? Are you using it to make you money? What are the gifts and talents that you have that you can make money to? Ultimately, we're looking to widen the gap between your income and your outgoing. That's where you're going to pay off your debt. That's where you're going to invest. That's where your generational wealth is going to come from. The difference between the money coming in and the money going out. So you're saying, what can I do to limit the money going out, to kind of slow down the money going out and kind of increase the money coming in? And now what am I going to do with the money in the middle? Is that all right? Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. All right. So yeah.
One quick question.
Okay.
I know you got long story short, for people that's trying to get like you and boost their credit, and for people who used to be like me and who used to listen to YouTubers, getting straight to it, I heard that like when you carry a balance on your bills and your credit bills, that can do you well. And I know it's wrong now.
Okay.
So can you elaborate on that before?
I'm glad you said you knew it was wrong before I had to, because I don't want to be the bad guy. All right. So, not used to listen to YouTubers. That is hilarious. Not TikTokers, but YouTubers. So here's where that myth came from. I'm gonna explain why the myth even came about. There's a difference between the statement date and the due date. And a lot of people get these 2 very important dates mixed up when we're talking about credit, okay? For the young people, again, I told you I teach kids about money, so for the young people, I tell them that your statement date is picture day. I said, this is picture day, okay? This is the day that the credit card company is going to take a snapshot of your account and send it over to the credit bureau, right? And I say, now listen, if it's too much going on and you know a picture day is coming, you might want to clean yourself up, right? If you got something on your face, clean yourself up. That's what I tell the teenagers. So That may mean paying it down a little bit. That may mean paying it off completely, right? You don't want to look bad on picture day. No one does. Now we have this statement date, and we have a balance, and it sends it over to the credit bureaus to say this person owes us $100, right? Now you have about 21 days after that. That's now your due date, where you have another 21 days to pay this $100. Okay? Now, if on picture day there's nothing there, that's where you're going to see on your credit report, it's going to say ND for that particular month. For that picture day, it's going to say ND, which means no data. Now, if we have no data on again because there's nothing for picture day, you didn't pop up for picture day, then how are you building your credit if you're not even present? Remember school, you had to say present, absent, are you here or not? What's going on? So that's why people say keep a balance, just keep a balance. Why? Because they want you to keep being present for picture day. Here's where the problem comes. Can you pay these people? Because you still owe this $100. You know, we don't want you to just keep, you're getting a little bit more fudge on your face. Every month you go by on picture day and you ain't paid these people. Okay, did I explain that well? So people come up with this myth as a lazy way of saying, go ahead and it's okay to have a balance on statement day. But you need to go ahead and pay it off before, or pay it down, or whatever the minimum is by your due date. Because people don't want to go through all the explanation, they just came with this whole myth of just keep dragging the balance, just so you don't have to do that to increase your credit. Yes?
How do you handle clients that they make irregular income? Like,
So, for clients who have irregular income, I'm just repeating your question for them. If your income fluctuates, I create a budget or a plan based on your worst case scenario and your best case scenario. So we will go through and say, hey, out of the last 6 months, what's the least amount of money you've made in your business in the last 6 months? Okay, so if this is the minimum that you're going to get, if there's no overtime, if there's no whatever it is you have going on, right? Let's make sure that you can cover all of your necessities with the minimum. And then we create another plan based on when you have more, when your best case scenario, this is where I want you to put this extra money when you get to your best case scenario. So let's just say your minimum that is $1,000 a month, just using numbers. Right? I'm going to say, okay, your $1,000 a month is going to cover all of these things. We can keep your lights on, we can keep your baby in school, we can boom, boom, boom. However, on months when you get more than that, maybe you have a $1,400 a month, right? I want you to put that extra $400 to your car payment, to this credit card, to this, to savings, to this and that, to balance out the lower months. So that's what we would do. We would go crazy with saving when you have the extra money in a month, so that if we need to kind of balance out those lower months, not too great months, seasons, we can do that easily.